JJ Math.
So this is the first factorization test. Please pause the video, try these 7 sums, and then mark it with me and see how much you would get out of 22 for this one. The ones with pink stars, you're only learning grade 10, but the rest you can already do from grade 9. Question 1. So I can see this is a trinomial, so I'm going to do the 2 brackets. Okay, this is not an advanced trinomial because there's nothing in front of x squared, so I can just put an x, and then I need to see what times what gives me 15. So 1 times 15, 3 times 5. I need to subtract the factors to give me a negative 2. So in this case, it would be 3 minus 5, and that does give me a negative 2. Okay, biggest one goes in the first bracket, other one goes in the second bracket, and then the first sign goes to the first bracket, and the minus at the end tells me the signs are different. That is my final answer. Question 2, I can see there's 2 terms. I now need to just check, is it difference of squares, or is it maybe cubed? In this case, this would be cubes. So small bracket, big bracket, this would be 2y minus 3. Okay, so now the pattern, square the first one, 4y squared, multiply them but change the sign, and then always a plus and square the last one. Question 3, there are 4 terms in this one, so this would definitely be grouping. Let's see if it works if I group the first 2 and then the second 2. I think it will work. So in the first 2 I can take out an a. This is 4a squared minus 1. And then for the second group I can take out a minus 1, which would leave me with 4a squared minus 1. In this case, the brackets are the same. So 4a squared minus 1 I can take out, and I'm left with a minus 1. So remember, if I don't see anything in front of the second bracket, there is an invisible 1 there. Now I need to double check that I am completely factorized. In this case, I am not, because the first bracket is actually difference of squares. So that's 2a minus 1, 2a plus 1. And then the last bracket just goes down. That is my final answer. Question 4. I can see there are 2 terms, but it's not difference of squares because 7 and 14 are definitely not square numbers, and the exponents are not all even. So it's not difference of squares or cubes. So in this case, I just need to take out a common factor. 7 goes into 7 and 14, so I know it's a 7, and then the smallest x would be to the power 7, and the smallest a would be to the power 7. So what remains would then be a7 minus 2x7, and that is the final answer. Question 5. Okay, so I'm counting the terms. There are 3 terms, so this must be a trinomial. And then I always need to check, can I maybe take out a common factor? In this case, yes, I can. So this would be a 6. I'm left with 2a squared minus 3ab plus b squared. Okay, so it looks like an advanced trinomial because there's a 2 in front of the a squared, but in fact it ends with a 1, so I don't need to worry about the last term. I can just say what times what gives me 2. It's obviously 2 times 1, and if I add them, because of this plus, I need to get a 3, and yes, I do. So 6, I can do the 2 brackets, and then I know my brackets would just be a 2 and a 1, and in this case, it must end on b squared. So therefore, what times what gives me a squared? It's just an a and an a, but what times what gives me b squared? So it's just a b and a b. Now to check the signs, the first sign goes to the first bracket, and the plus at the back says the signs needs to be the same. There we go. That is the factorized version of that trinomial. Question 6. Okay, 2 terms. I can see it's not multiples of 3, so I know it's not cubes, but this can be squares. Before I do that, I am just going to take out a common factor. So I can take out a 4, I can take out an x squared, and I can take out y to the power 4. So I would be left with 4x2 y4 minus 1 in this case. That would then be difference of squares. So I can say this is 2xy squared minus 1, and then 2xy squared plus 1. There we go. That is the final answer. Last one, question 7. This is difference of squares. So a block bracket with a minus, and then a block bracket with a plus. Okay, what times what gives me 25? Very easy, just 5. And then I just write one of those brackets, and then the other one. So in this case, I now can't leave my answer with brackets in brackets, so I would just then say this is 5 minus x plus 5, and this is 5 plus x minus 5. So remember, I'm just multiplying in the sign that's in front of the bracket. Now I must just simplify both brackets. So this would be 10 minus x, and this one, the 5's would cancel out, so this would just be x. You can leave your answer like that, but the proper way to write it would just be to put the x in front and then just say this is 10 minus x. There we go. Those were the 7 questions. Now let's just see how we would allocate the marks, and then please check how much you got for this little test. Okay, question 1 counted 2 marks. I would get a mark for each bracket. Question 2 counted 3 marks. I would get a mark for this bracket. And then if I did the squares correctly, so those two give me the first mark, and then if my signs are correct, I would get the other mark. Question 3, for 4 marks, I will get a mark if I grouped correctly. Okay, so my grouping was correct. And then because I took out the correct factors for both of them in order to get this bracket. So there's the second mark. What's left gives me that one. And then because I remembered the difference of squares. So 4 marks. Question 4 would be 2 marks. I would get a mark for what I took out and a mark for the bracket that was left. Question 5, I'd get a mark for taking out the correct factor and then for both brackets being correct. Question 6 counted 4 marks. I get a mark for those two. And then for seeing this was difference of squares and then just leaving that one there also gives me a mark. So sometimes in factorization you would get a mark for not changing something. And that's why that one would be 4 marks, sometimes just 3. Okay, question 7 would also count 4 marks. So I would get a mark for spotting the difference of squares and then for using block brackets. So that step would give me 2 marks. Then for multiplying in the brackets correctly, those minus and pluses, and then for the last one, just leaving it in the correct order. We came to the end of that test. How much did you get out of 21? Please let me know in the comments, and then please try test 2 and test 3 to see if you can progress and if you find it easier, or if you need to go and look at separate videos again to just touch up your skills.
If this video helped you, please like and subscribe.
JJ Math!